This week's test drive may have snuck up on me, not in the literal sense, but in the surprising big changes that I wasn't expecting. Hey, welcome to Station Road Warrior. I'm your host, Grant Roberson. Now behind me is the mid-year 2021 Hyundai Santa Fe, and with its arrival comes a lot of big changes, not just on the outside, but right there under the hood. Oftentimes when a manufacturer touts big changes, well, they're just not that big or noticeable. But here on the Santa Fe, well, the opposite holds true. Pretty much right there front center on the outside, the design enhancements really take the Santa Fe to the next level. Now, the Santa Fe is a sleeper in my opinion, really creeped up into my own mindset, really drawing my attention over the last several years, mainly because it can get the job done, and at the time even had an impressive facade. But now you could say they've gone back and chiseled things just a little bit more, almost like a Greek statue that wasn't quite perfected and now really hits the mark. What I've always liked about the Santa Fe really are the tight body lines, the exterior really keeping it from looking too voluptuous or too chiseled up. Now, certainly I hinted that this vehicle has gone through a little bit of sculpting, but not down the path of looking quirky and weird. Now, the biggest distinction you could say for this mid-year might be the guerrilla warfare. I'll show you that in just a second, but where it begins is really on the profile. First off, a very distinct midline that goes from front to back straight across. As you sweep down, smooth off just a little bit, but then again, angular here at the bottom. Almost from every viewpoint, you can see almost a different look as you sweep around this vehicle. But what helps keep everything nice and tight, you could say, is almost the shearing off here at the four corners. That versus more of a bowed out look. This, again, keeping everything nice and tight on this vehicle. What you may have noticed from the profiles, everything looks a little bit more softened and flattened, but as you sweep around, specifically even from this angle, you can see those accents really intensify, the design cues really stand out, and it really gives you kind of different viewpoints as you sweep around this vehicle versus some of the plain Janes that are going up against this vehicle. Next off is the overall size. This vehicle has not increased, really keeping nice, again, overall footprint on the open road. Now, what you're going to find is a wheelbase just under 109 inches, overall length about 188, really putting it squarely in that mid-size segment. As for the width, just about 74 inches wide, and height 66 inches. With that modest roof height, you would think, well, it's going to have kind of modest ground clearance. Not the case, pretty substantial at around about 8.2 inches. Before we get around to the exciting guerrilla warfare, let's talk about the design here at the back end. In some cases, an afterthought for some manufacturers as they put all their effort into the rest of the vehicle, they forget about the back end. But not here on the Santa Fe. The same attention you see on the profile really sweeps around here to the back end, really culminating at the rear hatch design. Instead of just a plain Jane flat appointment, you're seeing that same kind of chiseling up, sweeping down to the lower fascia. What you also notice is body color all the way around this vehicle, chrome accents here and there, black accents as well, even right down to the lower portion here and the rear exhaust. As for safety, you're seeing backup sensors, backup camera, front camera, as well as the side cameras, really giving that 360 view. Now, this vehicle isn't massive, but getting into that mid-size segment, really, it's just going to help with keeping and minimizing scrapes and dings. Lastly is what's going on back here. First off, nice powered rear hatch on this particular model, and what you're going to see is a massive amount of cargo space. First off, around about 36 cubic feet behind the second row. If you lay the second row down, that's going to double to around about 72 cubic feet, giving you plenty of options when it comes to again, people and cargo. Even with the amount of gear I have in here, I still have a lot of vertical space left over. You will notice with the angling of this rear hatch, the squared off lines is about right here. This lower portion, though, will extend out. Now, you're not going to find a full-size spare on this particular model, but you do have a nice lower cargo area found right here with a compressor and a fix-a-flat if you need it. Now, what you also see over here on the right side, not power buttons, but a release that allows me, if I need to, maybe extend this gear into the passenger area, just hit the corresponding button, and that second row will lay flat fairly quickly. During this week-long test drive, I had to remind myself that this is a Hyundai. Don't expect all the premium luxury, but at every turn, this vehicle just kept delivering. And where it began really is with the ease of ingress. And, well, it starts with the smart key system. This does have a lot of operation on it, lock, unlock, as well as the rear hatch. Also has that park assist where it pretty much acts like a remote control, maneuvering this car into the tight spots. But where it begins again is just here at the doors. And first thing you'll notice is security. This is locked. The fill-up area is locked when the vehicle is locked. When it's unlocked, this opens with ease. You also notice that those side mirrors are tucked in, giving you a visual cue that everything is nice and secure. As you walk up, the vehicle senses you're coming, gives you that kind of open arm, welcoming like feel. Just take your hand, just simply slide it in. That's really the next level, that intuitive feel versus the old cumbersome pushing of the button. Once you get here, that unlocks all the rest. As you walk away, you can just simply hit this nondescript little area right here, locks the vehicle quite quickly. Last but not least, and probably the most distinctive and exciting part to the mid-year changes here on the Santa Fe, the grille warfare. And where it begins naturally is this huge offering right through the middle, dressed up in kind of a darkened accent, glossed up Hyundai emblem front and center, dual ports almost, letting as much airflow through the middle. Also, what you're going to see is a two-tone approach when it comes to the chrome accents and the body color, and that kind of sculpting we see on the side really dressed up even more here at the front end, adding a lot more angular approach and aggressiveness to the front. But probably the big standout when it comes to overall design is the headlight assembly. First off, starting with the daytime running lights, really beginning up here at the top, almost dropping down like a waterfall behind this proposed cliff, really sweeping down to the lower portion of the headlight assembly. These are going to run during the daytime, of course. At night, you're going to get obviously a little bit more lighting with the dual lamps, as well as the little accents down below. One thing you've heard me talk about lately is the conflict between daytime running lights and your turn signals. If one overpowers the other, well, it has to give way. But what I like here on the Santa Fe is the dual role the daytime running lights serve. Basically daytime running lights, but as you can tell, when the turn signal turns on, the upper portion does the activity, but we never lose this lower portion. And obviously on the side, that just makes for a nice balanced look. So making this operational really serves multiple purposes. Now, when it comes to the models, you have the SE, SEL, the hybrid, the limited, and the calligraphy like you see here, all having various options when it comes to power plants under the hood. This one specifically coming with the more powerful 2.5 liter turbocharged inline four cylinder that delivers 277 horses and 311 foot-pounds of torque. This vehicle fits squarely into the midsize segment, though I'd argue that the legroom feels much larger than this vehicle. Now, what you're going to find is around about 44 inches in the front, 41 inches in the second row. And as for overall comfort, you're going to find individualized attention on the outer sides and plenty of room there in the middle for a third occupant. You're also going to find nice center flip down console, giving you nice elevated elbow support and dual cup holders. Keeping backseat drivers happy in the form of climate will be in the form of dual vents right behind the center console, as well as connectivity in the form of USBs and traditional household outlet. LCD displays is where everything is headed, not just for infotainment system, but also the gauge cluster, as you see here on the Santa Fe when it comes to the tach and speedometer. You also have a huge digital readout there in the middle for various information, as well as the digital speed. Now, the infotainment system, when you first turn it on, will have this kind of nondescript look. This allows for less distracted driving, but if you do want to dive in a little bit closer, you can swipe to the left, get the various shortcuts, though I do find that this is kind of cumbersome. So what I prefer is to hit the simpler buttons down below, simply click radio for entertainment, then you get to the simple use. Now, I typically don't interact with it because the tune select old school is really easy to use to find your favorite station. Just simply scroll through. Navigation, other functions, again, just real easy to use. Now, at first glance, I thought this was a central control knob for the entertainment system, but instead this is for the various driving modes, which I also find is, instead of a typical gear shifter, these push button select buttons as well, and other various shortcuts all the way around the knob. Now, this overall area can be kind of overwhelming, almost feel like a Boeing 747. A lot of vehicles did get away from this and did go to that LCD infotainment system housing everything. This being more of the luxurious premium side that you can see, so not surprising to find it here. As for climate controls, you'll find that right across the middle. Simple toggles up and down for temperature select, little buttons here for your fan speed, and again, the other mode selects found around. Just below all the controls, you will find this space for a singular cup holder. Nice springy material keeps the drinks in place. You also find this cover that reveals another cup holder there when you need it, as well as a USB charging. Another area you'll find is this little niche, and what I finally figured out, that is the wireless charging. Just simply take your so-equipped phone, slide it into place, and you'll see this little illuminator pop on, letting you know it's charging. Mid-year changes typically don't have a lot of fanfare, though I'd argue here on the Santa Fe it deserves its own parade, band behind and a trumpeter to announce its arrival, because, well, that would help minimize the surprise and shock and awe like I had when this vehicle arrived, with the profile changes, the grille warfare, the extra horsepower on the hood, and the fact that Santa Fe continues to deliver and get the job done, and, well, taking the premium to the next level. This vehicle, as tested, coming in at just around about $43,000. Now, as always, thank you for watching this edition of Road Warrior. Keep both hands on the wheel and eyes straight ahead.